Fuck. Hi everybody, two confused girls back at it with another video. So I'm Paloma.
I am. I'm glad you came along.
And today we are going to be talking about Hit It.
Koreaboos.
One of the scariest things that you will witness in Korea. We have established that there are actually many levels of Koreaboos. There's kind of like a pyramid kind of hierarchy of Koreaboos. Different
Boss level.
This is deep. And we're going to tell you the characteristics, what a Koreaboo is, how to distinguish different Koreaboos, and maybe in another video we'll explain how to defend yourself from said Koreaboos. Urban Dictionary is the best source of definitions.
We love you, sponsor us.
It says here, Koreaboo is someone who's obsessed with Korean culture so much that they denounce their own culture and call themselves Korean. They're usually K-pop fanatics, so not K-pop fans, they're like K-pop obsessed people or fans of like League of Legends and dramas. And if someone just likes the music, language and culture, like they're not a Koreaboo, it's someone who is obsessed. There is a quote here that we really like. Jackie is such a Koreaboo. She's American. She shouts at random Asian men and tries to look Korean by gluing her eyelids down. I have actually seen a video of a girl on YouTube. She put glue on her eyelids to get like a monolid. She joined the skin together with fucking glue because she wanted to look, I think she said like Asian makeup look, glued her eyelids, which is so fucking dangerous. That just shows how crazy they can be.
Being called a Koreaboo, I think, is the highest level of insult you could ever tell a foreigner. A couple of other key things about Koreaboos is they don't care about learning the language, but they'll say like random Korean words like anyway. Like our intro for this video today, 안녕, basically is 안녕하세요, which is like hello. They'll read like the romanization of things instead of learning how to read.
I hate romanization.
By the way, if you're learning Korean with romanization, stop.
It's so inaccurate.
Another thing is that they can't distinguish among Asian people. They just see any Asian person. They're like,
are you Korean? I have this big fetishization. Why can't I say that? Fetishization.
Yeah.
Of just Asian people in general. So they'll try and befriend any Asian person and try and be romantically involved with any Asian. And by doing this, they'll forgive like anything that an Asian's done. We saw a post one time about a YouTuber who tried to assault somebody. And because he's Korean, his Koreaboo
follower,
they were like, oh, he couldn't do that, like she must have done something wrong, blah, blah. Like really victim blamed because they just can't imagine that they're fucking did a bad thing. So
they're quite crazy. I guess like there are many types of Koreaboos. Our first one is called the soft Koreaboo. The way you can spot a soft Koreaboo is they basically dress like visco girls. All the pastels, the cute little skirts, kind of like that schoolgirl vibe, with like scrunchies in their hair clips, very cutesy.
Yeah.
And they'll do like their makeup very Koreanized. When you see it, you like know it's not that they've adapted to buying Korean products. It's like they do their makeup as if they were Korean, as if it's gonna work with like their bone structure, etc.
They're usually not the worst of Koreaboos. Still have crazy tendencies. Just expect to talk about K-pop a lot and for them to scream out loud when they hear anything to do with K-pop.
The next one on our docket are what we call the webby Koreaboos. Usually their level of Korean is actually quite high because they've learned a lot of their Korean through reading webtoons, and a lot of them are into like illustration, and a lot of them are also into K-pop and like love the music. They seem to act like a little bit more nerdy, a little bit more like kid-like. Webbies just kind of look like nerds.
Yeah.
Like super nerds. Like hasn't left their house in a couple of days type nerd. Which, you know, totally fine if that's your vibe. Webbies are also super into video games. If you have a friend that's a Webby, treasure them. Then there is the hip-hop Koreaboos, which, as you can imagine, are people that like Korean hip-hop. Wow. They'll like K-pop as well. They'll especially like K-hip hop.
And they specify that a lot.
They specify. They usually hang out in Hongdae, not exclusively, but like a lot of them will. A lot of them tend to be, but isn't limited to, Black people. I hate generalizing here, but these are just stereotypes from us living here. A hip-hop Koreaboo can be white. The aesthetic is very Hongdae, lots of bucket hats are involved, baggy clothes, going to hip-hop clubs. You know, they're still obsessed with finding their rapper Korean husband, the equivalent of like soft Koreaboo, but just with hip-hop music.
And they probably chain smoke. So the next one is probably one of the most lethal, pretty scary, very dangerous. So
approach with caution.
We like to call this
The Koreaboo.
super scary. So I feel like Koreaboos tend to be the older ones. You don't really get Koreaboos so much with young people. You can, but they tend to be older. And this is someone who is desperate to find their Korean husband.
Like in this video, we're referring to Koreaboos as female just because it's what we have experience with being cisgendered women in Korea. There is a stereotype that we tend to associate with males here. We're referring to them as women, but
it's not just women. There's a lot of men.
This does not by any means mean that we hate women.
We love women.
We love women.
The Koreaboos, a lot of the time they can speak Korean really, really well. They will kind of show this as much as possible. So if you want to go out with them to eat and you really want to practice, you know, I want to order in Korean, I want to try. No, they will just shout the order over you. They will say as much as they can. Like even if you're in like a restaurant that's foreign owned with foreign staff, they will still speak Korean just to show that they can speak Korean. You can usually recognize them by like a K-pop t-shirt, or like if you hear a K-pop song, they will scream. I feel like it's a language, like it's a universal noise that they make. You will know it when you hear it.
Especially when they tend to be older. Yeah. They also tend to pretend or at least think that they know more about Korea than like you ever will.
They'll just split out like random facts about Korean history, and they'll do this a lot in front of Korean people so that Korean people can be like, wow, how do you know this? And they're like,
I'm just really interested in Korea.
I love living here.
They will make you feel as shit as possible about your Korean ability, and they will go on and on about how much they speak Korean and how much into the culture they are and how many oppas that they spoke to and how much they wish to be saranged. Like their main goal is to seek out oppa and be saranged.
You know, be loved or marry, get that, it's F6? Well, get that married person
Just
visa, the F visas. You can also tell that they're Koreaboos by the classic K haircut.
Yeah. And they are willing to fight you.
Yeah, that's another thing about Koreaboos. They are highly confrontational. Do not disagree. Agree and slowly back away. And then we have our last two. So we have our Russian boys.
These are actually our favorite kind of Koreaboo
The best
because
kind.
they're not really dangerous. They're dangerous, but in a good way.
In the best way.
Like, they know what assets they have and they use this to their advantage. Russian boos are amazing at Korean.
Amazing. Because we are calling them Russian boos because they tend to be from Russia or Eastern Europe.
Yeah, very attractive young people.
They tend to lean into the Koreaboo aesthetic and they make a lot of money from it, actually. They make it into a business for themselves and they're very popular TikTokers, Instagrammers, models.
The way to distinguish them, dress sense is very Korean, very good. They are very attractive, very good at Korean, probably really fucking successful because, yeah, they know exactly what they have, they know how to use it, and
they make that money.
Yeah, we admire them.
Our last one, which is our like male stereotype.
We generally put the male Koreaboos into this one category, which we like to call sexpats. A sex pest expat. This is like a widely known title between the expat community. Everybody knows what a sexpat is. And a sexpat is usually a guy who lives in like Haebangton, you know, the HBC area, or like maybe Itaewon. They are looking for their Nuna. So they're usually like kind of, I don't really want to like be mean, but they're kind of very unattractive, but they came to Korea, and because they're slightly different, they've suddenly granted themselves like a god complex. So they think they're like the dog's bollocks. I don't know if you know that. We say that in England.
I've never heard that.
It's kind of a gross phrase. It means like really good, like
Hot shit.
they will go on loads of dates with Korean girls, like get the
Exclusively.
yeah, only Korean girls.
Exclusively.
They will not even smile at a foreign girl. Like, they won't even hold the door for a foreign girl. Like, they are here for Nuna. They will get Nuna to pay for the dates. And also, they're after the F visa.
That are after the F visa. They're the equivalent of Koreaboos. If they're white males, they think that they can be with the hottest Korean girl because they're simply white.
To notice a sexpat, he's probably slightly overweight. He probably has a neck beard. He loves 4 cans for Manwon. I like 2, but this is like, you know, this is a key feature. And they definitely have an E2 visa.
E2 visa. They tend to be teachers, almost exclusively. They like to drink, and they also wear shorts every season. If you ever see one, they will try and get with Nuna unless they can't, and then they try and go for foreigners, and they try and impress them with their amazing Korean level if they speak Korean. A lot of them don't.
They've been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they cannot order a coffee.
That's the sexpat. That's the good old sexpat. So if you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel, The Two Confused Girls. You can also add us on the Two Confused Girls Instagram. We'll have those either listed below or in the video.
It will be somewhere.
You can also add us on our personal Instagrams. That's it for today, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!
Smell you later.
Smell you later, bitches.